What's up, guys? Welcome to Straight from the Chest. My name is Justin Groth, and I'm your host, guys. Thank you for giving me your listening ear this time. Thank you for giving me just your time in general. Guys, I'm grateful. I say it every time. I'm going to say it every time because I'm grateful every single time for you, for everything that you give me, guys. Look, man, has anybody ever asked you what's your purpose or what do you think your purpose is? People have asked me that, and I'm sure people have asked you that, or sometimes you even ask yourself that, like, what is my purpose? That's kind of the overarching theme to our life or question to our life. Like, what's our purpose? What's our reason for existing? And I talk about it a lot on this podcast and in multiple different elements, but I got to be real with you. There's not just one single purpose that you have to fulfill in your life. You have multiple purposes that you're fulfilling in your life throughout the time of your life. And, you know, for example, you could have, I believe you could have one overarching purpose, meaning, there's this overarching theme of your life that is kind of incarcerated with who you are. And that could be, for example, let's take Elon Musk. So his overarching theme, I would presuppose, is something of an innovator and an inventor for humanity's sake, to make humanity better, right? So he's that's his overarching theme, but inculcated within that theme or this umbrella, there's multiple purposes that are facilitated under that umbrella. So, like, obviously he has a purpose to make automobiles better, more efficient with regards to the electrical side of things, right? He's doing something with SpaceX. He did PayPal, and he's doing a bunch of different things. But on top of being, I don't know if he's a father or not, or a brother or not, but he's got a bunch of different purposes bundled up under that umbrella. And in the same token, you could take a blue collar male that, and I don't know why I always use this example here, but a carpentry. And I always think of, I don't know why, maybe Jesus Carpenter, and that's why I think of that. I don't know for sure, but I always pull back to that example of being a carpenter. And let's say this overarching theme of this blue collar male is to beautify your home with his cabinetry work. But underneath his umbrella, there's an inculcation of being a father, being a brother, being a friend. Those are all underlying purposes that he's currently going through or has gone through. And you can't just segment yourself to one purpose in life, because that's not who you are. That's not how you were constructed. There are multiple purposes that are essentially analogous to the seasons of your life that you're in. And I think that there's one common denominator, though, with all the seasons that you go through in life. The purposes that are within those seasons, from the time you're, let's say, rudimentary years, you're 9, 10, 11, 12, even 16 years old, and you get your first job and you get your license and all that. You have these purposes that are tethered to those years, those foundational years. And although they're kind of passive and meaningless to some degree, they have an underlying common denominator that's affiliated with all of them, from that time of life to when you're 40, 50, 60. You can tell that if you look back in your life and you see, look, man, I did this particular sport when I was a kid, and I was really just into it. I loved it. And I wasn't that good, but I was really tenacious for it. But you found that wasn't necessarily your thing, and you kind of moved on and you went into something else. But look, man, the underlying theme of it all was that you had this tenacity and this perseverance to you, and this element that fear didn't exist. That if I fell flat on my face doing this particular thing, it didn't matter, because the fear was worth the reward that was going to be given to you. The risk was worth the reward, right? Well, then you do something later on in life, and you have this season of life where, I'm building a business. I'm or I'm doing this, I'm in this type of sport or whatever. You can fill in the blank. The underlying theme of that, or common denominator of that, is that you did not give up on your tenacity. You did not give up on perseverance. You kept thriving. You kept striving for more, for better. What am I trying to say? If you didn't understand that when you were young, you wouldn't understand that element to you now. And that's all tethered to your overarching purpose in life. They all kind of amalgamate together to form the better purpose that is going to be the kind of overarching theme of your life. But you have to identify what those things are in life, and you have to be able to recognize what they are when they happen. And you won't ever do that if you don't experience things in your life, or you don't ever cross fear in your life, or you don't ever contend with anything in your life. But I'll give you a cheat sheet here. The way to understand what your purpose could be in a particular season of life is what you're willing to fight for. And this could be verbally, physically, what you're able to stand apart for, what you would be wanting and be full-fledged and standing apart for, or standing alone at, or even going down a path that no one's gone down before. What are the things that you're willing to do that for? Because look, man, when I was young and I bought a bike with my buddy on an impulse, it was a spontaneous buy. And for all those of you who know street bikes, you know that an R1 is not the first training bike that you buy if you've never ridden a bike before. To have that much power between your legs is crazy. It's stupid. But I thought I wanted to be a badass and buy a bike, and so I buy the top of the line bike. It wasn't top of the line, but I mean, it was, regarded stupid fast. So my parents don't know this. They will know this now. But the thing that got me off that bike, I saw my buddy fall in front of me on a road in Los Barros. Luckily, he was okay. Thank God. But those are the two things that made me give up on a bike. Like, I'm not willing to risk my life or my limbs for this thing. It's just not worth it. I wasn't trying to be a professional bike rider or a racer or whatever. And some people are. And I don't understand that DNA, but that's not me. And I understood that. But it took me going through it to realize I can't do this. I'm not going to do this. I'm not willing to risk my life or my body for this bike. Like, I want to lift weights. And in contrast, like, you can tell me deadlift 550 or squat 500. I'll do that with no problem, with no fear of risking an injury or anything like that, even though that's a potential harm to me in that time. But it won't matter, because that's what I feel. That's what I want to do. That's it. I want to do those things. And that's why the risk to reward, it outweighs itself. And I'm willing to fight for that, because I find truth and meaning and I know it sounds stupid, but lifting weights or being a bodybuilder, like, I find truth in that. And I find truth in it because of all of the underlying elements that it actually extracts of who I am. And that may be you too. Like, but you're not going to find these particular things if you don't actually venture out and contend with something. And you're not going to find that if you don't find meaning in your life with something centered around something. But the meaning isn't going to come by you just sitting there and not having a hand in anything. And you may think like, look, man, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. But if you just think about the things that mean a lot to you, that mean so much to you that you would be willing to fight for them, and you stand up for them, and you debate with people about them, and you verbally contend and you physically contend with these things, and the risk might not even outweigh the reward, but for some reason there's so much meaning in what you're proposing that you can't help but, like, look, I'll go to bat for this thing. This is something that I'm laying my life down for. If I fall, I fall. If I die, I die. If no one follows me, no one follows me. If no one believes in me, no one believes in me. But I'm willing to continue this conversation. I'm willing to continue this fight forever because it's who I am. And you viscerally know that. And I think your biological DNA is trying to tell you those things from an early age. Things that you find meaning in and things that are worth the risk you continuously do. And in some token, it may not be what your buddy is good at doing or what your buddy finds a reward in. But that's because you don't have his DNA, rightfully so. But you need to understand and be able to identify what you're willing to risk yourself for. Because once you're willing to risk yourself, your purpose lies in that risk. It lies in that risk. But if you're not willing to experience and contend with what's out there and find out what your biological DNA says yes to and no to, then you'll never understand what your purpose is. You'll never understand where your purposes are. And living a life like that, I know I'm not going to say is not worth living. It's dreadful because it gives you no moral constructs and it doesn't give you anything to attach yourself to. And we as humans need something to attach ourselves to feel valid, to feel valuable, to feel accepted. We need that. And so it's a part of your moral obligation to go out into the world, find what you feel meaningful and what you see truth in, and continuously fight for that. And these things are going on, and they're revealing themselves in your life in due seasons. And they reveal themselves, and you're posed with the question, do I continue or do I fall back? Because when I fall back, I release responsibility, and it's easier to do that than to contend with something and be challenged. But I'm telling you, you don't have a choice. It's not negotiable. When you know that there's a reward incarcerated within that risk, and even if the reward isn't that big, you can't help but contend with it, and you can't help but stand for it, and you can't help but obliterate anybody that comes in your direction that says differently. Because that's what is meaningful to you. And I'm telling you, that is tethered to your purpose and multiple purposes in your life. Find out what that is. Find out what those are. Even though you have an overarching purpose, there are multiple purposes under that umbrella. And you find them. You find them when you contend with things that are challenging to you, but you find absolute meaning in. Done.